All right, guys. So, you guys know that I am a voracious reader. Sometimes I do act lackadaisical when it comes to reading. But the book I'm reading right now, that's kind of getting me in preparation for my hijra, is very, very telling. And I'm going back to the point that I made in the last video that, West Africans, we've been doing what, these Somalis have been attempting to do for decades, hundreds of years, We just have, we just have a history, that's the thing. And unfortunately, that history is like filled with some controversial things inside the history with our cousins to the north of us. But we're going to leave that neither here nor there. But one episode I want to explore in comparing and compare how it was then as it is today is the issue of concubines and eunuchs. Now, when you look at back then, right? When you look back then, most rulers had concubines, and that's no exception in the Islamic world. I mean, when I say concubines, them men had concubines. One ruler had 528 kids, okay? Because he just had numerous amounts of concubines. But the difference is that those concubines could get social mobility. You know what I mean? Like, say if the king has a kid with the concubine, then the concubine automatically is like associated with like royal lineage now. She has now became a part of that family in essence. And the kid, the son that comes from there, is entitled to like kingship, you know. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk about Moulay Idris. I'm just going to stick with Moulay Idris. Now, Moulay Idris, he was very controversial, but Moulay Idris himself was a result of a black mother, and he claims that he was descended from the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam through his father's lineage. So we can say an Arab father, okay? That's what the report says about him, okay? So, you know, the thing is that he, patrilineal is what most of us Africans are. So it's not written that much that his mother was actually uh how should I say, like, so how am I trying to put this? My bad. I kind of got distracted. But what I'm saying is that the thing is that with Moulay Idris, right? He didn't really mention his mom like that. You understand? It wasn't really mentioned. The more thing was mentioned uh was was that he was Sharif. That was mentioned. And I think his dad was a ruler, and so his that's how he inherited it, the throne. But the thing is with the concubines is he fell in love with one of them, and he actually fell madly in love with one of them, and he made her his main squeeze, his main wife. As a matter of fact, he gave her he was like, you know what? F the four wives, I'm making you the main one, and then the other ones can take like a back seat. Basically, that's what he did. Now, that entitled her to social mobility. She actually, you know, has social mobility. She actually could now her son can challenge for the throne when Moulay Idris died, you know. Now, in terms of eunuchs, right? Eunuchs were unfortunately emasculated, and you know how they were emasculated, you know. You know exactly how they were emasculated. I don't need to talk about it. And I'm not saying but as as to condone this, but there were certain privileges that even armed guards in his battalion did not have. One of them being that they were his trusted advisors, and they also kept look after the harem, because I mean they can't really do anything. They can't produce kids, right? So, and they also have like other important positions, right? Yes, they were emasculated, but they still had important positions. Now, what I'm getting at though is that the modern woman today, right? It's sad to say it, but as I read this book and compare her plight, the modern Western woman, concubines back then had it better than she has it. You know, the thing is, those concubines, they weren't entitled, right? But yet they still achieve social mobility, right? So the plight of a modern woman is like less than a concubine at this point. And the reason why I say this is because they expect certain things, right? And they're usually not getting them. That's the thing. They're not getting them. They're expecting all of these things, but lo and behold, unfortunately, I can open my TikTok or any social media app and they're using it as therapy to boohoo, cry, and what have you, right? The concubines back then, they just simply, they were like, well, you know, this situation, maybe it's not ideal for me, but I'm going to use it to, you know, my advantage. And they did. And it paid off, really, most of the time. Things got messy even at times where concubines ordered for example, like concubines ordered for assassinations, for hits even, you know. That's how messy it got sometimes. Now, when you look at the modern woman in the West, it's like, bro, like you guys are demanding all these things and you're not getting them. You know, in fact, you're getting less than what a concubine's getting. Because guess what? Guess what the concubine got that they're not getting? Commitment. Okay? They got commitment. And the thing is this concubines back then didn't get ran through. That was just for the king. But what Moulay Idris did, sometimes he would be like to his soldiers. And if you look at the other video I wrote that I did prior to this one, a cool like I would say a cool like 80% of his army was black. Okay, you have some Christian slaves in there. You have some, you know, a sprinkle of Arab in there, but the majority of his army was black. So what would he do? He would give his soldiers wives to procreate, you know? And maybe some of those wives came from the concubines, and he's like, okay, well, you know, have at it. You can choose a wife. So another thing too about that is that society was safe back then. You know, as bad as as bad as the things that he did, right? The society was still safe. However, now, um, concubinage is in a time of war, right? And what I want to say is that when you look at the modern woman and the plight today, she has to do more work than the concubine. She has to be a career oriented woman. Concubine didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Uh, if they were married off to the soldiers, Moulay Idris would just give them a stipend and say, okay, you get to live, right? Now, when you look at the modern woman, the reason why I call her lower than a concubine is because she doesn't even get the same rights as a concubine. She's not getting commitment. Um, she's not getting essentially what she wants, because if she was getting what she wants, she wouldn't be crying all day on TikTok. You know, she wouldn't have all these unrealistic expectations if she was getting what she wanted, right? Now, the thing that is ironic about this is that, Moulay Idris, he would choose good husbands for these concubines. They were in the army, they were generals, they were brigaders, they were these kind of people. You know what I mean? They were these kind of like individuals, you know? So this is what I'm saying. Now, when you look at even career oriented women, I mean, I I hate to say it, but even they're lower than concubines, because like you have women right now who are career women who are seeking inmates for like for companionship, for spouses. You have some women who are just going into correctional facility work just to have access to those men, right? So, in a nutshell, I'm trying to say that even a concubine back in medieval Africa, medieval Maghreb, had more class than these women do today. Now, in terms of the eunuch, even a simp is less than a eunuch. Because the thing is, the eunuchs back then, they were serving in the royal guard. They were serving as like, you understand, looking after things, right? But a simp, he lets women emasculate him. It's like a eunuch, and he basically lets women chop his eggplant off, metaphorically speaking. So he's like a eunuch, but he's not getting the benefits of a eunuch. How much you want to bet this man's not getting anything for what he is doing? Not elevating in like a, not going vertical. You understand? He's not doing that. He's simply pandering for nothing, which means he's lesser than a eunuch. I hate to say it, but he's castrated for no reason. I'll let you hear something that shows how castrated some of these people are. Hold on, let me see. Give me 1 second. And then I'm going to end this video real quick. I'm going to end this video real quick. Hold on. Just a second. Shout outs to Easy.
If he want to stay at your house, he got to pay to be at your house. You want to eat your food, you got to buy some groceries. You want to use your water, pay the water bill. Pay the rent.
So at the end, he said, pay the rent. So this makes you know that that guy is lesser than a eunuch because guarantee you nobody's sending him cash apps or nothing like that. They're just using his video and emasculating him for context because even in that video, you see the woman on the side. Here, let me show you the woman who's on the side who's actually doing a duet with the video. Hold on.
If he want to stay at your house, he got to pay to be at your house. You want to eat your food, you got to buy some groceries. You want to use your water, pay the water bill. Pay the rent.
So the thing is that, like, for example, by no means am I condoning slavery or any kind of servitude in the Islamic sense. I just had to read these books and read this book from a fiqh perspective to know the rules of slavery, to understand how slavery works. And when I look at it, like concubinage and slavery in Islam, you have more social you have more upward mobility than you have on this dating market, basically. When you compare the two, when you compare a concubine to a modern woman, like the concubine's better off. You know what I mean? When you compare a eunuch to a simp, the eunuch is better off because both are emasculated, but one simply is getting something in return for it. That's the thing. So maybe, I'll make another video in regards to this. I thank my teacher for putting me onto this book and actually making me read this book. Although it's in Arabic language, I أتكلم عربية, right? أفهم عربية, so it's no problem. But it's just a really deep text that takes some kind of like, I guess you can say it takes some like really digesting, really marinating. And so I marinated on those points that, concubines were way better off than modern women. Because the thing is that a modern woman, she'll spread it wide open for like the guy that she doesn't want to make rules for. But then, you know, when she finds her eunuch, the simp, it's like she asked for all these type of things. She asked for everything. You know, basically the eunuch is serving her and not really getting anything in return versus a eunuch that, if he serves the king, he's getting position, status, and money. It's just that unfortunately he can't reproduce. That's the only unfortunate thing. you know but anyhow, that's all I have for now. Leave your thoughts and leave your comments. Let me know if I'm reaching, and let's open up the discussion. Fuller signing out. Njara.